All right. Hello, friends, and welcome to a new reading vlog on my channel. Today, we are going to be reading whatever this book is called. Is this Crescent City or is this House of Earth and Blood? I don't know which one is the series name and which one is the book title, but we're gonna be reading it. I'm really excited for this, actually. One, because it's been a while since I've owned this book. My friend got it for me for my birthday a few years ago, and I'm just now finally getting to it. I'm also really excited because there's this one scene in the sequel. I think it's like the opening scene of the book that I've seen it online, and I'm like, I'm excited for that. But first, we have to read the first book in the series. I'll go ahead and tell you guys a description of what I know of this series before we hop into it without reading the summary of the book. The main character's name is Bryce. Her best friend dies. Hi, welcome to the spoilers. Her best friend dies. And she's upset about that. And then also, the second book starts with that scene, but that has nothing to do with this book. And then also in this series, for some reason, there's a scene in which the A Court of Thorns and Roses characters, I think it is, meet the characters in this book. Or maybe it's every book. Maybe like the Throne of Glass characters as well. I have no idea. That's it. That's all that I know about this book series. I think this is also a little bit more urban fantasy than high fantasy. So I'm excited to see how that's going to go, because Sarah J. Maas, up until this point, she's only ever written high fantasy. So I'm excited to see what a possible urban fantasy from her is going to look like. But with all that being said, I'm going to take off the dust jacket of this, hop into it. I do know that the pages here, what are they called? I can't remember. There's a specific term for them. Has this art. She gives robot vibes. So that's fun and interesting, but I haven't looked under the dust jacket, so I'm kind of interested in seeing what's on the cover. Hopefully it's something, or else I'm gonna look like an idiot right now. It's nothing. I mean, there's a little moon, but like, we could have been better. Anyway, I'm gonna hop into this, see what this is all about. I will update you every single time that I have a thought. I'm thinking this is gonna go ahead and be a spoilery reading vlog where I like literally tell you every tiny little thought that I have in my head, because I did those previously for the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. Unfortunately, those videos aren't up on YouTube anymore for you to watch, because they were on my old channel before I deleted it. Sometimes I regret deleting that channel. But anyway, I'm gonna hop in and see how this goes. Yeah, this is so interesting, reading just like this, the Four Houses of Midgard thing, because we have shifters, human, witches, ordinary animals. Like that doesn't belong to any certain mythology, right? And then the next one we have Malachim, and then in parentheses angels, like, okay. Fae, interesting. Elementals, sprites, and those who are blessed by Solus, which, like, ew. That egghead? But wrong series. Then you have river spirits, mare, water beasts, nymphs, kelpies. I don't know Nox. That's a thing. And then Daemon Aki, reapers, wraiths, vampires, draki, dragons, necromancers, And some of the, like, I don't know what these are, gods. Luna, another Luna, Solus, Oginus, and then, like, Earth. Like, okay, shifters and, like, a Luna in general are a little bit more urban fantasy-esque. Solus, I don't know, the only thing that I can think of is Dragon Age. Some of these species, I guess, are like Irish mythology, which we already know that Sarah J. Maas knows a bit about, because A Court of Thorns and Roses, just the first book in particular, was a retelling of the Ballad of Tamlin. But then, like, some of these, Earth would be, like, Norse. So what I'm trying to say here in a very roundabout way, sorry, I'm just everywhere all at once, is that I have not even gotten into the book yet, and I am already seeing such an interesting mismatch of mythologies that I'm very intrigued to see what Sarah J. Maas is going to do with the series as a whole, because, like, we know that she has focused on Irish mythology in the past, because A Court of Thorns and Roses in general is not extremely Irish mythology, but it's like I can see the connection to some of the mythology and how it has been changed for that series. Like, I could see the inspiration. Throne of Glass, I do know that we had, like, the weird stones, and that would obviously be with, like, weird, but I don't think that it necessarily followed a certain mythology, though it's been a while since I've read Throne of Glass. And then here we're getting, it looks a little into, like, Norse mythology, but then also a little bit of everything all at once. So that's just an interesting connection that I wasn't expecting. Okay, maybe I should actually read, like, the first page. Maybe I should actually get into the story and learn a little bit more, but I'm just... Okay. Oh, there was a wolf at the gallery door. Okay, which meant it must be Thursday. Yeah, of course. Okay, I haven't finished the scene yet that I'm in, but here's been my thought process so far, and by explaining my thought process, I think you'll understand what scene I'm reading. So, our main character, there is this shifter in her friend's pack who is interested in her, but she's like, I don't want to date shifters or anything. And so she's never, like, done anything about it. She decides that she's going to go ahead and go through with it, and agrees to at least try for, like, a single date with him. Good. I'm glad. I really hoped that that date would go through, but I know it's not going to. I know it's not going to happen. She goes to a club with some of her friends, namely, not the friend who I know is going to die. Isn't that interesting? And I'm like, you know, if I was Sarah J. Maas, this would be a good time to kill the friend and all of the shifters in the pack. You know, I'm just saying, they're all in an apartment together. The main character's out, having a good time with her friends. This would be a good time for that, you know? The main character comes home, and isn't that so weird that, like, the apartment building she lives in stinks, and there's, like, a whole bunch of this red liquid all over the floor. I haven't gotten to the part where she, like, opens the door yet, but I'm like, I do really, the only thing that I don't like about this scene is that I do really wish that that date would have gone through and we would have been able to see it. I liked him a lot. Unfortunately, I knew it wasn't gonna happen. Do you think that a pink lemonade Kit Kat tastes good or bad? Anyway, don't pay attention to my background. I'm working on it. Listen, it's a mess over there, but it's actively in development. I did a couple of things a couple days ago, and then I worked on it a little bit yesterday. I worked on it a little bit today. Let me tell you about House of Earth and Blood. I'm pretty sure that's the title because the next one is another House of something and something. And that the series is just Crescent City, but it's still just like weird to me. I'm about 100 pages in. 114 pages in. That's the start of chapter 10. And I wanted to say that I'm actually really surprised about my enjoyment of this book in a somewhat negative way. Normally I say that like positively. Oh my gosh, I'm really surprised that this is going a lot better than I expected. I'm really surprised that I'm not connecting with this book as much as I thought that I was going to. It's urban fantasy, despite the fact that like it's not a real urban city, like it's a fake world, but it's still urban enough that I would consider it to be urban fantasy. We have a good mismatch of different species. And just I find that really interesting. They're pink, by the way, inside. You know, I was really like, oh, this one's going to be my favorite out of every single series that she's ever written because I love a good urban fantasy. And I'm liking the urban fantasy aspects, and I am liking Bryce's story so far, it just being, you know, that her friend is dead. But I have gotten 2 chapters in the point of view, kind of Hunt, and I don't really like him that much. That was a lot louder than I thought it was going to be. I was trying to do that really quietly. Granted, I barely know anything about him, but it's just kind of like, okay. He exists currently for me right now, and not exactly what I expected. So anytime that I get a chapter that's about him, I'm like, great. Like, you know, in books when you have like a villain chapter where they're talking about their evil plans, and you're just like, I'd rather read about anything else right now. Like, I do not care about the villain. That's how I'm feeling about the 2 little Hunt chapters that I've gotten, because I'm like, okay, can we get back to Bryce? Like, I don't care, but I know that they're eventually going to meet up and be integral to the plot together, and I'm just like, joy. Anyway, like I asked before, good or bad? Last chance. Oh. It's good. But I don't know why. I was not expecting the pink lemonade to actually taste like pink lemonade. But like, it's good. Not my favorite, but it's interesting. Okay, so I was going to come on here and comment that I am around 250 pages of the way through the book right now, and I don't have too much to talk about plot-wise. Like, we're still kind of into this murder mystery. I don't even know if I've explained to you the plot of the book for if you're watching this and you have no idea what it's about. I do know that I told you that the main character's best friend dies. Basically, there's this, like, demon that is out and about in the world, and the main character sees it as it is running away from, killing her best friend, but she, one, loses sight of it, and two, has no idea, like, what it is. Like, she's never seen this thing in her life. And so the basic plot to the book is, like, a murder mystery of them trying to hunt down the demon and trying to figure out, like, who summoned it, why is it here, and why it keeps killing a bunch of, like, seemingly random people so far. It's been the main character's best friend. It's been this vampire guy that she worked with, like, saw for one night for, like, maybe an hour. And then it's been, like, a random acolyte at a church temple area. I don't know how anything connects, but I haven't, said much about the plot because I don't know what's happening, but I'm here. I'm enjoying the ride. But one thing that I do want to say is that I do really enjoy the relationship so far between Hunt and Bryce, and how Bryce is just, like, constantly bullying him. Like, she'll make him sit out. Like, he has this job to, like, protect her, be her bodyguard while she's trying to figure out this whole murder mystery thing. And I guess kind of help her with it, but, like, honestly, it feels more like it's all up to her and he's just there for muscle. So she'll, like, force him to stay outside while she's doing things, or she'll be supposed to be working on trying to come up with new leads, and instead she's getting her nails done. I really like this relationship where she's just bullying him. It's really good. But then I wanted to comment because just before turning on my camera, opening lines of chapter 25, page 254, is Hunt saying that he messed up and that he might bribe Bryce with a new pair of shoes or some purse or whatever. And it's like, did that work out for you when you thought she was legitimately getting her nails done for no reason? Does anything that you know about her up until this point, like, even so much as, like, the reading experience, because as readers we're always going to know a little bit more than characters, we're getting Bryce's point of view, so we know a little bit more about her. But still, there are certain details that Hunt has seen that it's like, do you really think she's that materialistic? That you can just, like, buy her some shoes or a purse or whatever. Like, he has this idea in his head that she's just a vapid party girl. And I don't like that. But maybe that's also just me projecting, because I kind of think that Hunt is one-dimensional and just kind of boring. There's nothing else underneath the surface to his character. It's just kind of like, okay, he used to be this big bad boss, general, whatever, but his rebellion failed, and now he is forcibly working for what is basically like the mayor and forced to do all of his dirty work. And it's just like, okay. Congrats. I don't like him. Maybe I will later on. I'm only 250 pages in, like a fourth of the way through the book. But so far I'm like, I don't like him, and perhaps that's the reason why I like Bryce bullying him. Is because at least I get to see bad things happening to him. Okay, so it's been forever since I have talked to you about this book. I am about 450 pages in now. Just kidding, 472 pages in now. I haven't really had a lot of thoughts. Like I was saying before, I'm really interested in the murder mystery aspects of this, and I'm really enjoying the fact that like it's urban fantasy that really sticks to the typical urban fantasy murder mystery that I feel like is just often found in urban fantasy like this. I don't know how to explain that, just like urban fantasy has a sort of feeling to it that always seems to lend it to murder mysteries. And so I'm really enjoying that we're getting an urban fantasy murder mystery out of Sarah J. Maas. But it's been a while since I've talked to you because I haven't really had any strong feelings about the characters or the plot. I am really interested in seeing where it goes, but not enough that I feel the need to turn on the camera and let you guys know about it. But I did just get to this part, and I just thought about it. When I was at my dad's and I was doing those videos, it's been a few videos since, he has this really good natural lighting that I thought looked really good in my videos, and here I don't. The lighting in my room kind of sucks. I have the ceiling fan, and that's about it. But I was thinking I have a light next to my bed. Maybe that will make this a little bit brighter. I kind of hate what I see so far, but you know what? I'm gonna wait until I edit this video to give some final thoughts. This will be the only clip in which I do this. But as I've said before, my vlogging camera screen is literally an inch big, so here, I'll literally put my fingers around the screen. It's literally that big. Okay? Anyway, book-wise, sorry, I'm all over the place. I just got to the part where we met Adis, the prince of one of the hell circles, whatever. And first of all, I'm very intrigued by him. I would love to get a story about him, but whether or not that's actually going to happen in this series, I don't know. The other thing that I am really intrigued by is this line in particular that he says on page 472, where he says, "Make the drop, Bryce, and find me when you're done." And then later says something about the Oracle and like her going to the Oracle in order to see like her future, basically, and the Oracle kicking her out, and then it's something to do with like a prince of hell. Very intrigued by this sudden turn of events. Very urban fantasy. You know what? Also kind of goes along with the genre. I just really want to focus on that. I wish that this book focused on that a little bit more. I am only maybe 66% of the way through this, so it could be in this final half we get more about that, or in the later books, I don't know, but I wanted to let y'all know that there has been a little sprinkle of some stuff in this book, and I am very intrigued by that aspect, as well as the murder mystery, not so much the characters. I like Bryce. I think she's a cool character. Hunt still hasn't grown on me. This far into the book, I still think he's okay, but like, no big feelings about him. I don't like him. But I also don't necessarily hate him. It's just kind of, if I had to rate him on a scale of 5 stars, like I'm rating a book, he's a 2. You know, it's a little less than neutral. But maybe he gets better. I don't know. Okay, but I will say that I did really enjoy the scene where he comes back from doing his little job and he's in the shower, just like kind of zoned out, and Bryce... Do we know who he is? Did I even say that? Hunt. And Bryce is like taking care of him, I guess, in the shower with him, but not like in a sexual way, just kind of like there for him. I do think that that was a really good scene and a really good look into his character. So it's like I'm slightly warming up to him. Okay, so we're getting into this new drug thing that is medical but might also have been at the scene of the crime, and the whole thing having to do with the plot, you know. And I just got to the point when it's revealed that Danica, the main character's best friend who died, was the one who was selling it and may have like introduced it. I don't know. It just says that she had it. But I'm pretty sure at the beginning of the book they were talking about like, I mean, okay, so technically speaking, I guess Danica wasn't in that scene because it was while she was actively dying. But weren't they talking about like, oh, you want to try a cool new drug? Like, isn't it the same drug? Wasn't it named? I'm literally looking right now to see. Yeah, it says, oh my god, page 51, I just got to it, when Bryce is buying drugs from somebody and the drug dealer offers synth. Synth will make you feel like a god, she said. But it's too expensive, and so Bryce doesn't try it. And then later, let me see, when she's like actually partying with her friends, Fury holds up a small bag of white powder. Hold on. Is that what the dealer just tried to sell me? What did she say it was? No, Fury just says, stay away from synth. I wonder why Fury... It is an interesting thought because she hasn't been in the story. She's been like avoiding Bryce this entire time. And she says something at the beginning of like, stay away from synth. I wonder what that has to do with... I don't think she would have anything to do with it. I trust her despite the fact that we've only seen her for like 5 seconds in this entire book. But intriguing. Anyway, it's really good to be right though, that we were talking about the same drug at the beginning of the book. The main character didn't try it, but it was just like, it's like not a new thing, you know? I really like being able to like go back on a reread, though this isn't a reread, and see the little details and how they add up. It's cool. It's been literally like 5 seconds since the last time that we talked, but I turned the page and Bryce called Fury again, and Fury answered. Whoa, mind-blowing. And Bryce asks, hey, have you heard about synth? And Fury says the exact same thing, like almost word for word, I feel like, that she said on page 51, was it? Of like, it's dangerous, don't fuck around with it. Intriguing. The plot thickens. So I was thinking about this last night as I was falling asleep, and I thought about possibly saving it until the end of this video, but the more that I think about it, the more I'm like, this is a really good, like, I could write an essay about this topic, and I want to share it right now before I've even finished the book. So, on the topic of I don't want to say my feelings for Hunt, the way that I perceive his character is I keep thinking he's very boring. He's very milquetoast, which is weird because he's kind of the opposite of milquetoast. And so trying to figure out, like, why do I feel that way about him? Why do I think he's such a boring and just not interesting character. And I think I figured it out last night. It is because a lot of times in romantasy books these days, all of the love interests are the same. Not like necessarily copies of each other, but very similar in the way that they're all like dark. They have these tragic backstories. They have some sort of power that makes them different from everybody else. But then also, once you get to know them a little bit more and you get under their shell, they end up being like softer, more like somebody who has a heart of gold, nice, cares about other people, and it's not something that you would necessarily expect from somebody that you're seeing who is very like gruff on the outside, kind of just in general for like all romantasy love interests, kind of gruff on the outside. And I think that's my problem with this, is because I read so many books that are similar to this. I read so much, just, I mean, even in romance books these days, the love interest is more often than not a little bit darker. And after a while of reading the same thing over and over and over again, it starts to become a thing where you're just like, I've already read this. This is the same book, the same character in a different font. Like, I don't really care. I'm not saying that we can't have characters ever again who are this darker jerk with a heart of gold stereotype, but when every single book is like that, I would love to see another book where that character doesn't exist, where the love interest of the book is somebody who is outside of that stereotype, that specific character trope in a way. And I also find with Sarah J. Maas books in particular is that, thinking about it now, of the, let's say, 4 main love interests that there are, not including the other Crescent City books because I haven't read them yet, but if we're just talking about Throne of Glass, the ACOTAR books, I'm throwing both Rhys and Cassian into as love interests. So we have like Rowan, Rhysand, Cassian, and now Hunt. Of those 4, there's only one that I like. And that's such an interesting idea, I guess, that looking back on it, I was not that big of a fan of Rowan. He was okay, but I was mostly reading Throne of Glass for the plot and not for the characters until the very end, when I got so annoyed that a certain character died that I was like, I hate this book series, I'm never going to think about it ever again. And I've stuck with that over the years. It's been a while since I've read Throne of Glass, and I'm still like, the beginning of it was okay, but after a while it just got to the point where I was like, I hate this book series, I'd never read it again. I was not that big of a fan of Rhys, but I knew that I was going to like Cassian, so I kept up with it because I wanted to read about him. And now with Hunt saying the same thing, they all just feel like the same character in a different font. I think that's my main issue right now, is I'd really love to read one of these books where the love interest is not some dark, tragic backstory, special powers, cooler than all the others guy that is just the same as everybody else. Interesting turn of events I was not expecting. I feel like oftentimes when I'm reading books, I just turn my brain off and I let the book tell the story rather than like me trying to think ahead and be like, what does this mean? What is it? Like every so often I'll be like, ooh, a thought, and then I'll put it down. so I can let the book kind of have its own pacing rather than me trying to pace the book. I just got to the point, full spoilers, by the way, like, full spoilers. I've been pretty spoilery throughout this entire video, but full spoilers. I just got to the point when Bryce finds the thumb drive in Danica's jacket. Wild. And she is showing the video of the human who was injected with the synth. And it says specifically, like, the way that she attacks these, like, snake shifters, is she rips them to pieces. And then it says later there are 2 other guys who go in there, and they too wound up in pieces. Piles. And that's the same way that earlier, when Bryce was describing the way that the victims have been killed, she was like, it doesn't make sense that the Crystallos demon is the one killing them, because the way that it kills isn't the same way as this other thing that has been killing things leaves the victims, because it always leaves them in, like, piles, like, torn up. And now we're getting that same description from a human taking this drug. I'm so intrigued by, like I said before, I let the book kind of tell its story rather than me thinking about it. I didn't even consider the fact that, like, the drug on a human could have been the killer. But now I'm very intrigued because, like, how... If there was a drugged up human, or whatever, it doesn't have to be a human, but I'm just, going with what's on the page right now. If there was a drugged up human that was killing these people, 1, why? 2, how did they not get on the cameras? So it could be that there's somebody, like, behind the scenes who, like, knows more about the government and the way that, like, everything is. I really was not expecting the drug to be as much of this investigation as it is. It's been 2 paragraphs. She ripped herself apart when there was nobody else for her to kill. She ripped herself apart? Hold on. Okay, so let's take Danica's death as an example. There were piles of people. And then there was the Crystallos demon, but the Crystallos demon could have been summoned by just, like, the obsidian salt that was in Synth to begin with. So it could be that whoever killed the pack summoned the demon in the last seconds before they ripped themselves apart. So the question is, was there another body in with all of the other body? Because there's so many parts. How do you tell, like, who has what part? Was there another body that they didn't consider? I wouldn't think so, because, like, the investigation would have figured that out, right? So it could have been somebody in the pack took the drug, of which, like, who could it be? I don't know. The point remains. And then these other murders that have been happening could have been somebody in the group who was murdered. Let's take the young kid who, at like the church or whatever it's called, who was found dead in the same way. Because I think she was also ripped apart. Now I'm like questioning, was she one of the ones that like just got bit by the chrysalis demon? Or was she one of the ones who got ripped apart? Either, let's say that she was ripped apart because I don't fully remember. It could have just been that like the acolyte herself took the drug and then ripped herself apart. So these could not be murders necessarily. They could just be like suicides in some cases. But in Danica's case in particular, like, she knew her killer. And it was not her because she was like screaming, begging for them to stop. So it could be somebody in the pack, of which like part of my brain is going, what if it was Connor? And the other part of my brain is going, please don't let it be Connor. I like him. But I'm like, I don't know. None of the other members are as prominent on page. You know, if you have it be, I can't even remember the other members' names, but if you have it be one of the other members that Bryce knows, that's not as painful for readers. Because it's just like a background character, like nobody cares. But if you have it be somebody prominent, that would be fucked up and would also be something that Sarah J. Maas would do to me. I'm scared. But I'll keep reading. Hopefully I don't find out something new 2 paragraphs from now and I'm like, holy shit, y'all. I'm reading this scene and I'm thinking about what I'm going to say to the camera when I'm like literally reaching for the camera, still reading, as I'm thinking about what I'm going to say to the camera. And I'm thinking it's going to be so funny if I'm like, damn, Danica really did know the killer. She knew the killer a little bit too well, you know? And then I keep reading and I'm like, Fury's here now. What the hell is going on? This is the climax of the book for sure. Yeah, so Danica knew the killer. You know what? I'm glad at the very least that it wasn't Connor. I'm happy that it wasn't him. But damn, imagine reading a whole book and like it's exactly as you thought from the, well, I guess not exactly as you thought, but like the reveal is just basically the most obvious normal option. Anyway, so what's Fury doing here? Okay, let me get this straight. So Hunt gets sold off, gifted, to Sandriel. And Bryce comes up with $97 million in order to buy him. She has already spent, I don't remember if the book ever says how much, on the like chimera that I can't remember the name of. It's similar to Sphinx, but it's not Sphinx. She has just gotten a loan for $97 million. And all I can think about is Lahaba, who has been in this library for years, begging whoever talks to her, like, please get me out of here. If Bryce has the means, even though, like, yeah, it was a sacrifice, now she has to work for Jasiba for, like, longer or whatever. If Bryce has the means to just come up with these funds within, like, 12 hours, why not do it for Lahaba? I'm so frustrated with this book. I don't even feel like I want to finish it, but I'm also like only 100 pages away from the ending. A little. It's like 160 pages, and I'm just like, you know, the murder mystery plot, really good. Really enjoyed it. But now that we're focusing a little bit more on the characters, I'm like, I don't want to read this. I'm so confused now. I'm so confused now because I'm in the scene where Bryce is fighting Micah, and she says, you killed Micah. You killed Danica and the pack, and Micah says, I enjoyed every second of it. But they died because Danica took Synth, right? I don't understand how Micah had something to do with it. The only thought that I had was like, yeah, Micah was in the area that night. But I don't understand, like, why Bryce said that. I've been trying to, like, reread this section, like, when they figure out where the horn is, which, by the way, wild thought. He says that he would be able to, like, get it and use it. And then all of a sudden, like, you killed Danica. How? Maybe it will be explained in the next couple of pages. I'm just... He drugged her! I, like, scrambled to turn on my camera as fast as possible so I could tell you that. That's how he killed her. Is the whole thing. Like, it's still right that she killed the rest of the pack and then, like, tore herself up. But that she wasn't the one who took the synth. That Micah injected her with it. The plot to this book is so good. The characters, but the plot, I'm screaming. I'm gonna cry, and I'm trying not to because, not like I don't like crying on camera. Okay, nobody likes crying on camera. I don't mind crying on camera, but it's currently 4:30 p.m., and it's just not a good time for crying right now, but I've had 2 little tears escape. Bryce bought La Habra right after, what's it been, like 30 minutes ago, that I was coming on camera telling y'all, like, she's so terrible for getting all this money in order to buy Hunt, and she didn't buy La Habra. And she did. She was just waiting to have a party so that they could celebrate it. And now I think La Habra's gonna die. I really wish that the, what is it called? The knock? I don't know how to pronounce it. The little, like, underwater creature thing that was trying to kill her just now. I really wish that they would break the aquarium and in its final acts as it's dying, because it can't touch air or else it dies. It decided to be, like, a good person and killed Micah, maybe? Hurt him in a way, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think La Habra's going to die. Micah's going to kill her. I have no idea what's going to happen with Bryce. Like, this would be a good moment for, like, suddenly realizing you have a really cool power or whatever. But I don't know. But anyway, I needed to tell you guys that La Habra's free. But she's not going to be free for very long. The knock. Oh my god, please. I haven't even read it yet. I just read that La Habra unleashed her power, it says, to the tank that the Nock is in, and I'm like, please unleash the Nock on Micah. Oh my god, I'm obsessed with her. I am obsessed with her because she shoots, Bryce, I'm talking about. She shoots him in the head. She gets out Danica's sword, which I knew was in the, antiquity store. I knew it was in there somewhere. She gets out the sword, she cuts him in half, and then she gets out, like, gasoline and a match, and I'm like, girl, he's already dead. You don't have to do that much. And then this whole time, she's on camera. And I like to imagine this, like, entire just room full of people silently watching as she gets out a vacuum cleaner and just starts vacuuming him up. Oh my god. You didn't have to be that, like, that, detailed. But god, I love the turn of events. I am crying again to Ethan. Ethan? Connor's younger brother. That one's about to go into my mouth. Not following orders from, like, his boss, basically, to go and help Bryce. Like, directly being like, nope, I don't care about these orders. Bryce says that she wants backup over here, so we're gonna go give her some backup. Like, because so far in this book, his character has been all, I try to keep things like, if you know the book, you know certain things, and if you don't know the book, I try to give, like, a foundation for everything. He was angry at Bryce throughout the entirety of this book because his older brother was Connor, and Connor died while Bryce was having sex with somebody in a bathroom. And the whole thing with, like, she was going to go on a date with Connor, but they hadn't, like, yet done that date, but he was, like, crazy for her. Like, she kind of knew the second that they go on a date, like, that's going to be it. They're practically engaged at that point because they're never going to give up on each other. And so Ethan was, you know, annoyed throughout the entirety of this book with Bryce and kind of bullying her, but, like, a high school level bullying. Like, whatever, dude. We have bigger fish to fry. So him deciding to reject orders from his alpha to go and help her, like, that's huge. That's huge, and I'm so proud of him. Also, I've talked for so long that I've filled up this SD card and I have to go change it out. I have, like, 3 minutes left on this SD card, and I have, like, 80 pages left in this book. I know I'm going to be just yapping for the rest of the night, so let me go change that out, read a little bit more. I'll let you guys know when I have another thought. Okay, you think that me crying earlier in this book was bad? I sobbed the entire way through this ending. From the point when she has her hand on that button with all the gates, and she's, like, asking anybody, literally anybody, to anchor her so she can make the drop. Like, just the fact that the drop is a very, I don't necessarily want to say intimate, but that's the only word that popped into my head. A very intimate experience where, like, you do it with someone who you know very well, somebody to anchor you so that you can find your way back into the living world, right? And there are some people who don't really care who they do the drop with, and so they choose just like anybody. But the fact that Bryce was saving, like, she had a specific time, she's like, at this specific age, she and Danica, why did I blank out at Danica's name? Were going to do the drop together, and they're going to be anchors for each other. And then her, like, giving up on that dream, even though, like, it's never going to happen because Danica died. Her giving up on that dream and just being like, I need anybody to anchor me so that I can do the drop. Sobbing. Nobody had even answered her yet, and I was already sobbing. And then the reveal that... Listen, this was a whammy back to back. The reveal that she heard Danica's voice from beyond the grave, and she dropped because of that. And then, like, the next page being told that Danica wouldn't be able to anchor her because Danica's already dead. That was, like, the sobbing did not stop. And then just, like, the rest of it, I was too busy sobbing at that as I'm continuing to read the rest of this book that I just sobbed straight through. I've sat here for a while. I don't even know how long. And just kind of sat here, played on my phone a little bit, but nothing, like, mentally taxing because... Yikes. But I do feel like Sarah J. Maas is really good at this, really good at her plot lines. It's one thing that I really admire about her writing is that, or, you know, we'll go a little bit more general here, any writer in general who can put little things at the beginning of a book, for example, the synth and how it was talked about on page 51, but we didn't really get it as part of the story until like 600 pages into this book. I love when authors have little details like that you're not really thinking that much of because you're just hopping into the story, you don't know anything about the world, and then suddenly little details like that become like big parts of the story. For Sarah J. Maas in particular, I feel like she does a really good job at knowing what she's writing about, if that makes sense. She, I feel like, does a lot of research into different mythologies and knows enough about them that she can change them to fit her own worlds. And this is something that I said long ago when I read A Court of Thorns and Roses, the first book in particular in the series, because a lot of people, when they read A Court of Thorns and Roses and seeing other people's reactions online, they said that it was a really good Beauty and the Beast retelling. And it is. I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand people who say that it is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but where I think it really shines is as being a Ballad of Tamlin retelling. You know. And how, I mean, this is going totally off course because we're supposed to be talking about House of Earth and Blood, but stay with me for a moment here. If you had any sort of knowledge on the Ballad of Tamlin before you, that's two separate words, by the way, Tamlin, before you had read A Court of Thorns and Roses, it was really easy to see through reading A Court of Thorns and Roses, just the first book, that Sarah J. Maas really knew that story. And even like in the second book as well, being able to see that story, take it and be like, okay, what would happen after Tamlin gets away from the queen? Like after he's a little bit more free and allowed to be with the girl of the story. Because I've never gotten the feeling that he truly loved the girl in the original ballad. You know, like, he rapes her at the beginning. She gets pregnant, she hunts him down, and finds out that he is the property of a Fae Queen, and that she has to go through trials in order to save him. You know, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he has feelings for her, and so I find it really interesting how Sarah J. Maas, like, took that, the story of, like, we know that she, the girl, sacrificed a lot in order to save him, but he doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the girl, you know, and took that into its own story. And then even beyond that, I mean, once we get out of the first book in the series, we're not really focused on the ballad anymore. And so that's why when I talk about the ballad, I'm only talking about the first book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. But just taking that core concept and spinning it into such a large series in general, just really cool of Sarah J. Maas. But then also in the other books like this, Throne of Glass, we had the Weirdstones, you know? I mean, in this, we had Earth, and just all of these different mythological concepts and spinning them into not only tales that make sense in the general concept of the mythology, but also to change them to be into a story. That's what I really like about Sarah J. Maas's writing. And so, like I've been saying throughout the course of this book, I have really enjoyed the writing in this, of course. I've really enjoyed the plot. Still not the biggest Hunt fan. I just find him extremely milquetoast, extremely boring. Not my favorite, but the rest of the characters I really enjoyed. He's okay, you know? He's fine. And I don't know, I really liked this story. I will say, though, that I found this to be one of those sorts of books where you read the beginning and you're maybe not 100% into it, but you just have to keep reading in order for the, like, knowledge of what happens at the end to be able to look back and be like, wow, like, since the beginning, even though we thought that these details were all boring and had nothing to do with each other, and I touched on this earlier, you know, like, everything in this book is connected. There were times when I wasn't fully enjoying myself with this book, but I still think overall, having read the ending and being able to look back at the rest of the book, it was a really good book. I really enjoyed it. I actually already rated it on Goodreads because I've been having a problem recently with not rating the books and not putting when I finished books. I'm trying to do that just so I can see at the end of the year how many books that I have read in that year, and so I have to, you know, assign a date to when I finished them. So I went and I did that while I was crying. I rated this book 4 stars. I really liked it. I didn't, you know, love it, but I do think that it was really good. I had a really good time with it. I'm excited to read the second book. I have to see if my library has it, because I want a physical copy. I want to be able to hold it in my hands, but I will take ebook if I have to. I know my library has an ebook copy. It's just, I would prefer a physical copy in my hands. With all that being said, though, since I finished the book, I should probably finish out this video. Also, my camera's about to die, so should probably stop talking before it perishes. But I had a lot of fun with this book. I hope that you had a lot of fun watching me read it. I was trying to be a little bit more talkative, a little bit more like telling you my thoughts. I think that'd be really interesting in future videos, is being able to fully like experience the book with you guys. I don't know that it makes sense to you, but I have this certain idea in my head of like not waiting until I'm out of a moment to be able to tell you guys like a summary of my feelings on that moment, and just kind of letting it come as I'm reading, be my most unorganized self in these videos, because I think that'd be really fun to watch. My like pure reactions as I'm actively reading. But either way, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one, where either I read another book. The next one on my list is Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. Or when I read whatever the next book is called in the series. I know it's the blue one, but I can't think of what the house is. House of... No idea. Absolutely no idea. But I will see you then for that book.